What's new in macOS Sequoia? Let's take a look. So macOS Sequoia version 15 is going to roll out in stages. 15.0 won't have most of the Apple Intelligence features that people have been talking about. But 15.1 and 15.2 coming later this year will have more and more of those features. Let's focus on what's new in the initial release, 15.0 of macOS Sequoia. So I think the tiling features are what most people will be talking about. This allows you to quickly position windows around the screen. So here I've got a bunch of different windows, and of course I can drag them wherever I want and resize them however I want, just like before. But in the window menu, there are now a bunch of different tools like Fill to fill the entire space, or Center to center the window. Also under Move and Resize, you're going to see a variety of things like going to the left, the right, the top, filling the top left quarter and all of that. You'll be able to arrange all of the windows in quarters or in other arrangements. Hold the Option key and you get more, and notice all the keyboard shortcuts for doing this quickly as well. You can also access these with the green button here. Just hover over it and you get access to a lot of those options. The Option key gets you even more. Plus, you could drag and drop to do it. So I can drag this window to the left and it will snap into half the screen. I'll drag this window to the right and it will snap as well. Cool thing is you drag away and you can see how it returns to its normal size. You can also snap up and use the corners as well. So a lot of people are going to really love how you can tile the windows, and you still have access to full screen and split view just as before. Now, a new iCloud Drive feature that I think a lot of people have been waiting for is the ability to take a file like this one and say you have the Optimize feature turned on. Now, if you go offline, you can never be 100% sure that this file is going to be available to you. But in Sequoia, you can bring up the context menu, and one of the options is Keep Downloaded. So that will make sure that that file is always on your Mac and available even when you're offline and using the Optimize feature of iCloud Drive. So a new feature that you can use in FaceTime is to control how you look. Right now you see exactly what's behind me, which is a green screen, but for you it's probably a bookcase or a wall or a door or window or whatever. So you can now go to the camera controls here in the top and go to background. And you could swap out the background and you can choose a solid color. It's a gradient really. You can choose one of Apple's backgrounds like this, or you can add one of your own photos to this little collection here and use one of your own photos for it. So this works in FaceTime but also in other apps where you're using your camera. Now for a while macOS has had a built-in password manager, but it's kind of awkward to access it. You have to go into System Settings to get to it, or in Safari Settings. But now finally it's got its own app. So you can just run this Passwords app, and that's where you have access to all of your passwords. So it works more like third-party password managers having this independent app here. There is even a cool function where you could go into Settings and you could turn on Show Passwords in Menu Bar, and then you get this little key up here and you can access your passwords without even having the Passwords app opened. By the way, if you find my videos valuable, you may want to consider joining the more than 2,000 others that support MACMOST at Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You can read about it here. Messages has a few new features. One is that you can now use tapback as before, but instead of just being restricted to these 6 different icons, you could actually use any emoji that you want. So you can choose all these different symbols as something you tap back with. You could also use stickers. You create those on the iPhone and you can grab one of your stickers here, and this is from a photo. It can be animated or not. So the tapback options have greatly expanded. There are also a few new message effects that you could use. You can see here the list got a little bit longer and there's a few new things that you can do. And when you go to send a message now, in addition to just sending it, you can now send later. So you can choose a date and time and have the message sent then instead of right now, which is what you would get if you just normally pressed return. Now the Calculator app has changed. There's actually now a Universal Calculator app that's on the iPhone, the Mac, and on the iPad now. You still have all of the different modes here. So you've got your basic mode, your scientific mode, and your programmer mode. But even in basic mode, you could type out a formula and you can see the whole formula like that. And then you press equals and it even remains there at the top. And this is really handy when you go to Scientific Calculator because you could see the left and right parentheses really clearly like that. As a matter of fact, even though it's not shown here, you could actually type the parentheses and use them in basic mode for the calculator. In addition, conversions look different and they work in a really clever way. You just go to View and turn on Convert, and now it converts whatever answer there is to the calculation you're performing from one thing to another. So you can change what it is. For instance, I can convert temperatures. I could do Celsius and I can go to Fahrenheit. And now whatever I type here, I see the conversion happen automatically. And you can do this with all sorts of units, but you can also do it with currency as well. Now the Notes app also gets into calculating. You can type something like this and put an equals there, and it will calculate the answer. You press return and it will stay there. If you go back up and change a number, the answer updates. And you can use parentheses and some functions. You could even use variables. So I could do something like this, and then I could have formulas like this. You can see it calculates the answer. I could do another formula. Let's multiply these. And I get that answer. And now if I change this variable here, you could see it updates the results. Another trick that Notes has now is you can record and it will give you transcripts. So I'll start a recording and I'll begin recording like this. It'll get everything that I'm saying. I'll stop it and click done, and you can see I've got the transcript here. If I double click it, it brings it up here, and I could jump to a part of the recording by clicking on words, or I could select and copy and paste. This will be really useful in meetings and classes. Also, in regular Notes now, if you have headings, you can now collapse those, and it collapses everything under it. A great way to have longer notes and just see the section you want. Plus, we can now do highlighting. So you can select text like this. You click on the font tool there and click this button, and it will highlight it, and you can select from a few different colors. The Voice Memos app, by the way, also allows you to get transcripts. You can do recordings with this, and when you're done, you can see this little symbol here saying it has a transcript. You click here, and it will bring up the transcript. Now, if you're like me, you've got your iPhone sitting next to you when you're using your Mac. There are certain apps that are only available on the iPhone that you have to use. You get notifications on it and everything like that. But now you can keep your iPhone in your pocket because you can access it on your Mac. So you've got this new app called iPhone Mirroring, and you turn that on and you've just got your iPhone with you. It's locked, but now you'll see the screen right here as a little window on your Mac that you can move around. You can go home. You can go to different apps. You can even go in and copy and paste from an app on your iPhone to an app on your Mac and vice versa. In the future, we'll be able to drag and drop, and you can use your Mac's keyboard to type right into your iPhone. In addition, there's something in System Settings under Notifications that allows you now to have notifications from your iPhone appear on your Mac's screen. So no more grabbing your iPhone out of your pocket to see what the notification is. It'll now appear on your Mac, and when you click it, it'll even use iPhone mirroring to give you access to whatever that notification was referring to. If you always thought it was strange that you could set a reminder in the Reminders app and have it set for a certain time and then look at your calendar and then not even see it, well, that's changed now because Reminders and calendar are linked. So here you can see I've got a work meeting and it appears here in the calendar app. There's a little calendar here that just shows me all of my reminders. Plus, when you go to create a new event, it allows you to create the event like before, but you could also say, oh, instead create a reminder for the Reminders app. Safari has some new features too. They use Apple Intelligence, so you may or may not get them depending on your Mac model and which version of macOS you've got. But here you can see if I go to a page where the Reader View button was before, there's now this button that gives you even more options. You can click it and it gives you a summary if there's an article there or something that could be summarized. And you could go to Reader View if you want. Matter of fact, if you go to Reader View for this, it will not only give me Reader View, but it'll give me the summary and a table of contents on the right so I can jump to different sections of the article. There's also the option here to hide distracting items. You can select that and then you can click on any part of the page you want, like this, and it will go away. It'll be hidden. So You can trim down what's shown on the screen. Really useful perhaps for giving presentations when you want to show a web page but you don't want to show the ads on the web page at your work meeting. Also, there's a feature that when you're playing a video on a web page, you can click here and then use the video viewer, and it enlarges the video and gives you native macOS controls for playing the video. The Maps app has really been improved when it comes to showing things like parks. If you go to, say, a national park or wilderness area, it'll show you trailheads and will also show you topographic lines. You can even create a custom route. I click this from this trailhead here. I can now go and pick my destination like that, and it will figure out the route along the trail, even show me elevation here. And I could save this route, and this will be really useful on iOS 18 where you have your iPhone probably with you on a hike like this, but useful for planning definitely on your Mac. There's some minor changes to the Photos app. A lot of things like people and memories are grouped under collections now. And in addition, you have new collection types like days and trips. So more tools to help you organize things automatically. Freeform has an interesting new feature that makes it a little bit more like a presentation tool. You can create a board like this. And let's say you want to give a presentation where you show each one of these things. You can zoom in on an area and make this into a scene. I've created a bunch of different scenes here, including this first one. So a scene is basically your location and a zoom amount. And you can jump to any other scene or just use these arrows here to go between each one. So you can give a presentation. You can do the presentation over like a video meeting, or you can use the collaboration tools in Freeform to give the presentation. Every new version of macOS seems to come with some new screensavers and wallpapers, and this is no exception. In fact, there's a really cool one called Macintosh. And when you use this, it looks like the original Macintosh system in a kind of a 2.5D view. So you're going to see all sorts of different controls and interfaces pop up. Sometimes you'll even see things like the date and time. It'll actually be correct. It's a really cool screensaver or desktop background to have. Now I know a lot of you are curious as to whether or not your Mac can run macOS Sequoia. All you need to do to figure that out is to go to Apple's site and go to their page on Sequoia. This is the preview page, but by the time you see this, it will be just the regular Sequoia page. Scroll down there and you'll see the section near the bottom that tells you exactly which Mac models are capable of running macOS Sequoia. But not only that, sometimes various features only work on certain Macs or using certain languages or region settings. You can find footnotes on that at the bottom of this page. So you look at the feature at the top of the page, and if there's a footnote, you go down here and you see information about where this feature is available. So if something isn't working for you or it looks different than what I'm showing, you may want to check this. Now, of course, in the near future, I'll have more detailed videos on some of these. And as Apple releases new versions that include more Apple Intelligence features, I'll do videos on those as well. Until then, I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.